Well, a very good morning. Welcome to the Environment Community Committee meeting of the Toowoomba Regional Council for the month of December. This meeting is open to the public and also be live streamed. So I thank those in the room with us today, as well as acknowledge those watching via Council's social media channels. So just for those watching via Council's social media channels, so we're only on YouTube at present, but at the end of the day or at a later date, all of the recordings of this meeting will be uploaded to the other usual platforms that people are able to view it. So just a message there if anyone knows people that watch it via other platforms, that YouTube is the platform that it's available on today, just as we work through some IT issues. So I'd like to open the meeting by acknowledging the Aboriginal parties whose songlines traverse the lands that we do meet on today, the Western Waka Waka, Guyabal and Jarrawa peoples, and pay respects to their elders past, present and emerging, for they hold the knowledge, rich traditions and bold ambitions of Australia's first people. I'd like to welcome the CEO, Mr. Brian Pigeon, the Acting General Manager of Environment Community, Kevin Jeffries, and also big thanks to Simon and Jen, who are with us as well to help us navigate throughout the morning. To acknowledge the Mayor, General Deputy Mayor, Councillor Rebecca Bonhoff, and fellow councillors, and also, before I move an absence, also I'd like to acknowledge the portfolio lead of Environment Community Councillor Tim McMahon. So councillors, item 2 is attendance, including apologies, leave of absence and declarations of conflict of interest. We note the leave of absence for Councillor Melissa Taylor, so no resolution required there, but we do require a leave of absence for Councillor Tim McMahon. Councillor Carol Taylor is happy to move that, seconded by Councillor Rebecca Bonhoff. All those in favour? So that's carried unanimously. Now, councillors, we go to item number 3, and this one is the Community Grant Program Sports Tourism Event Grant Program approval. I'm going forward, the Coordinator of Tourism and Sports Events are very well rested. Mr. Andrew Allpass.
Chair and morning councillors. Councillors, as you're aware, Council offers a range of community grants to support community groups to deliver a range of projects and events. The Sports Tourism Event Grant Program is slightly different to the majority of those programs in that it is open for application at any time while funds are available. And with that, we have 2 applications that were received in November for events to be held in late January and mid-February next year for consideration. The assessment panel assessed both of these applications. There were no conflicts of interest to declare, and the amounts of $5,000 for each application is recommended as per the assessment of each of those grants, which you will find in attachment 1 in terms of how the events were scored. So I put that recommendation to you that each of these events be supported to the amount recommended by the panel.
Thanks, Andrew. Councillors, any questions in regards to these items? Councillor Bonhoff.
Thanks, Chair. Through you, just a request, I suppose, when these reports come to us, that we have a table of interested parties, because I found it on the application and assessment data, but I think it would just be helpful for councillors to have straight up an interested parties list so that we can make sure that we're not conflicted. And questions about the actual recommendation, Chair.
So thanks, the Acting General Manager says that will be noted for future. Thanks, Councillor Bonhoff. Councillors, are there any questions? If not, there is a recommendation there. Councillor Carol Taylor happy to move. Councillor Bonhoff is happy to second. Does anyone wish to go into debate? So again, I'll just note the recommendation that we do have is the Council approve the 2 applications there for funding of $5,000 each under 2.45 Sports Tourism Grant Event Program. So guidelines, and that the successful applicants be advised accordingly. So I said move up to Councillor Carol Taylor and Councillor Rebecca Bonhoff. Then we should go into debate. Sorry.
That's a good question.
Question? Yeah.
Ones who
Yes. Yeah, it would be an application that is submitted that needs to be assessed. So basically the recommendation, if it was to not be approved, would just be purely a recommendation by the panel that still needs to be reviewed by council.
So there are no further questions for that. So we did have a mover in Councillor Carol Taylor.
Can I just make a comment, please? I may be mistaken, but this is the first time I think in the recommendation that we haven't got two parties mentioned. It's over further on in the report, but it's not actually in the recommendation. I have to move it because I've gone past and had a look and seen who it was, and not that, because we probably need to know that if we're going to vote on ratifying it. So just a thought there that perhaps they should be listed in the recommendation as well.
Might ask the team to note that as well in preparation of reports. But just on to, so I'm going to move in a second. I might just ask, with that in mind, Andrew, do you mind just giving a brief rundown, I suppose, on what the two applications are? Just,
Thank you very much.
Yeah, of course, through you, Chair. So the one application was received from Equestrian Queensland for a youth, or what they call their 2024 EQ Youth Development Camp. Their youth age groups range from 12 to 25 years. That is a 4-day event that will be held at the Tawney Showgrounds. It does also have history of being held concurrent years, multiple times in one location, having been hosted at the State Equestrian Centre for Wiltshire for numerous years before coming here to Toowoomba. The other applicant was Pittsworth Junior Rugby League, and that is for a community-focused rugby league event that features the International Legends of League, which is a 4-day program of community activations and then culminating in what we refer a gala day, I guess, of rugby league matches with a very entertaining game that has history and has been hosted, similar events been hosted here in our region in the past, where past origin greats and other international or national level rugby league players come to the region and play against the local side, and they always prove to be popular.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Andrew. So, councillors, with that, so consider a mover for the motion, so to grant approval for those two applications. So it's moved by Councillor Carol Taylor, seconded by Councillor Rebecca Bonhoff. So I'll put that to the vote. Those in favour? That is carried. Thanks to Andrew, thanks to Sarah Baines as well, so community development, and Kevin Jeffries. So, councillors, that does conclude the Environment Community Committee meeting. So we'll take the opportunity to say very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to everyone, of course, on behalf of everyone involved in the Environment Community branch. Thanks to Kevin, obviously, and I was acting General Manager for all of the work that's gone from the team across a very, very busy 2023. So with that, councillors, we'll close the meeting and we'll close the Environment Community part of the meeting and hand over to for finance business strategy.
Welcome to the Finance and Business Strategy Committee meeting of Toowoomba Regional Council. This meeting is open to the public and will also be live streamed, as Councillor James mentioned earlier, only on YouTube at the moment, but will be made live later on. I would like to thank those of you who are in the room with us today and acknowledge everyone who's watching via our social media channels or via YouTube at the moment. Also like to acknowledge our CEO, our Mayor, Deputy Mayor, fellow councillors, General Manager Anne-Marie, Brendan, Simon, Jean, and the rest of the FBS team down the back. Thank you for coming. As far as a leave of absence, attendance, I now declare this meeting open. Before doing so, I'd like to acknowledge the Aboriginal parties whose songlines traverse these lands we meet on today, the Western Waka, Gaibu and Jarowair peoples, and pay respects to the elders past, present and emerging, for they hold knowledge, rich traditions and bold ambitions of Australia's first people. Also like to note a leave of absence from Councillor Melissa Taylor, and an apology for Tim, and create a motion for acknowledging Tim. First motion.
Having a word that
And
accept
second.
Tim's apology.
Thanks for moving that, Mayor, and seconding. Councillor James. Those in favour? Thank you. Does anyone have any declarations of interest? I haven't received any today. If you do. Yep. Okay, so we can move on. For item number 3, a quote or tender consideration plan for procurement of Aboriginal cultural heritage services. I'd like to hand over to Andrew Wagner.
Good morning, councillors, and thank you, Chair. So the quote tender consideration put forward before council is to request to allow the procurement of Aboriginal cultural heritage services first without seeking quotes or tenders as at attachment 1 are the list of involved parties in the plans that's per attachment 2. Hand over to questions.
Anyone have any questions, councillors? Councillor Nancy?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've got a few, if you could bear with me, please. The first one is on Article 43. The list of involved parties only mentions one name, and then it has a list of entities, which means that we don't know if we have a conflict of interest. We need to understand what the people are rather than the actual entity. Would be one thing. I did wonder whether the procurement policy should be attached to this report, so that we can compare to see what's in the procurement policy. There's no mention of value in the report. The plan mentions that $200 has been spent to date in the current year, but it could be $1 million or more under this. And I just wonder about transparency in that and whether there should be a cap on how much could be spent without actually going through the normal processes of local government in relation to tendering for work. There's also the annual internal review of expenditure, but not to councillors, and the policy will never come back unless requiring amendment. And the plan even allows for additional supplies to be added. I feel that this is quite loose, and I think there should be more governance around the process, to be honest.
So in terms of attachment 2, provides the overarching plan that's been proposed for council's consideration, and as part of that attachment there's actually a 7 to 8 year expenditure view against those specific providers that we've actually listed today. So overall I think it's around $350,000 to $360,000 since financial year 2016 that's been expanded by council. Financial services through its procurement will actually look at monitoring the expenditure under this methodology, and we can consider bringing that back to council. And as you can see there, that the lion's share of this spend is actually the last financial year out of that last 7 to 8 years. I'm not have to take that much notice regarding current policy.
Thank you. So, and that's why I raised that if it was a minimal amount of money being spent, but we spent only $200,000 already in the current year. So, this would be a growing, I imagine, a growing amount of money that would be being spent. And therefore I feel that we need to be giving consideration to a cap on how much before it becomes the normal tender process, given that we have a Local Government Act which requires us to do that generally. And I think that it's, I don't know whether loose is the right word, but it's just too loose for me to just have an open checkbook on it. I think there needs to be some sort of governance around it, that we need a cap of some description before, and then after that cap is reached, it needs to go through a normal tender process, would be my view.
Through the chair, this provides council mechanism to actually gives us the ability to engage with providers and provides us that approval to for that additional engagement. It still requires financial delegates to actually exercise the delegation to then get allocation as appropriate and also then exercise that against the budgetary constraints as how much then to spend against those specific providers. And then obviously that will have unique offerings to what they can provide to council, and that sort of limits the number of suppliers council may be able to access in any respects.
I still say what I say. Stand by what I say. Maybe that's what I should say. I just feel it's too loose. Unless I can get support from others that we have some sort of cap on this. Do you believe it should have a cap? I mean, most things that we do financially, we have a cap of some description, and I don't see why we shouldn't with this.
If we just move to the Mayor, then Bill, and then Councillor Megan.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Just, the reason for this is to provide a more sure way of the operational team seeking services for cultural heritage services. And I don't know that you could actually understand, I don't know that we can quantify what that would be, because those services would be asked of throughout the year and we wouldn't know what that would actually be. So I'm just unsure. You can see the growth of this. This is a growing area, there's no doubt about it. But I don't think this is the mechanism for that. It might be through a budgetary consideration of cultural services. I mean, it's monitored, but it's an unknown as to when the services might be required. So if we're redoing doing a road or a footpath or whatever it may be, and we require cultural services, we don't know what that cost would be. This is really just to say, well, these are the services that are available, these are the organisations available to do that. So it's probably a different mechanism or conversation around what is that budget look like. It's growing, there's no doubt about it, you can see it exponentially. But I'm not sure that this is the mechanism. I think the financials would have been put in there merely to give an example of what's been spent, but the actual, this process is really to say, like we've done with other tender considerations, it just highlights those groups that are available. So I'm not sure this is the mechanism for that.
So maybe it could just be monitored through our budgeting process.
I think that's the best way to go, because it is definitely something that this council should be made aware of, and the community as well, to be fair, because there's private contractors who will no doubt be going down the same path and understanding the quantum of what that is. To build into a budget for a project is something, so not sure that this is the spot for that though.
All right. Oh, maybe it does need to be done through the budget process. So I've only got one more question. Sorry?
Just before we move on, our General Manager was going to suggest a potential change to the wording.
Thank you.
Good morning, councillors. So just a suggestion. So previously when we started bringing these quota tender consideration plans to council, we did review them on an annual basis, but we found that there was usually very little change. But I would suggest that with this one, because it is emerging and growth area, that we do bring it back in 12 months and put it before council so we can look at it, and then with a recommendation that we can take it, leave it as per the other ones going forward, but have a review in 12 months to just
Thank you.
change the recommendation.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you. So then the only other question I had from that, and it's sort of slightly sideways, is does the council monitor and record the environmental protection in the procurement policy? Because remember, I lobbied for quite a while to get recycled paint and all that sort of thing as part of our procurement process. And I just wonder, do we ever monitor that clause that's in our procurement policy to ensure that's being adhered to as part of the process?
Through you, Chair, I'll have to take that question on notice.
Thanks, Andrew. I'd appreciate that. That'd be good. Thank you. That's me.
Thanks, Councillor Nancy. To you, Councillor Bill.
Yeah, thanks. I must admit I had some questions about the intent of this, but on that page there, and Councillor Jeff's already pointed it out, but further, if you note the rise in 2023 on expenditure on that table there, I possibly suggest because of the legislative changes and requirements, that's why we are committed to engage around these services. I can speak for one area, and that is the requirement in the new planning scheme for councils to now formally consider cultural heritage matters as part of the preparation of the new planning scheme. So, and I agree with Councillor Jeff, this is, how would you quantify that? Project by project. I think it, like any budget item, you monitor it. But there again, we have some legislative obligations, and it is what it is, around due diligence on the subject of cultural heritage. So that's a fair assumption, General Manager Anne-Marie?
And that's correct, and also major projects that we've got in the pipeline require these services.
Yeah, look, exploration companies, mining companies, gas, been doing it for decades, and there's a requirement around that. So I think, local government's been brought in under that umbrella now, where we have compliance issues around that. So, yeah.
Thanks, Councillor Bill. To you, Councillor Megan.
Oh, thank you, Chair. No, my points have been made. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Taylor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And yes, I agree with that and the rise and what's been said. But I personally would like to see, again, we've got a recommendation there, but no comment around it. See attachment 2. I would like to see the names in that recommendation that are over that we have on page 46. Services may be provided by incorporated bodies and third-party consultancies. Identified engagements may include but not limited to, and have that there, I guess, because it's a public. This is in an open meeting. It's a public recommendation, and why would we not spell out what we're saying here? So that's just I've never seen 2 recommendations we've dealt with so far that haven't got any detail in them whatsoever. So I'd just like to see some detail, whether it's taken directly from that sentence or not, but I think it should be in the recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, councillors? Go for it, Carol.
I suppose attachment 2 provides the entities in which council has dealt with, and the recommendation that we put forward for consideration, and the level of money that council spent on those organisations. I suppose we've tried to.
Not asking for the money to be spent there, just to have them identified is what I'm asking. Thanks.
Yeah, just to have the list of names in the recommendation.
Yeah, I suppose I appreciate that. As part of the plan, though, I guess we've got the entities and who we're dealing with, and then we've linked that back in through attachment 1, those entities with the actual the people that we're aware who are, you know, from related parties.
Madam Chair, I understand that, but I don't know, we've just got why we, you know, I've never seen recommendations that are so brief and with no detail in them and why. We're sitting here discussing this and we're deciding, you know, this legislation, as Councillor Bill has mentioned, and I think we all realise that, the Mayor as well. Why are we not identifying who we're dealing with without somebody having to go and find an attachment and read through it? Thank you.
Any further questions? Bill? Councillor Bill?
Oh, no, if we need to go into debate, I will. I mean, it's, as per attachment 2, it's part of the report, it's a public report. But we need to debate it, I will.
So we've got the recommendation in front of us.
Councillors, we're just having a bit of an issue getting it up on the screen, but we just proposed, as per that discussion before, recommendation 2 was proposed to read, note the quote or tender consideration plan Aboriginal Cultural Heritage Services will be internally reviewed and a further report provided for council consideration after the plan has been in place for 12 months. If you're happy for that.
Are we happy for that? Yes.
Yeah, that's
Would anyone like to debate the item? Councillor Mayor?
Just wanted to not that I see as an issue, because when we get to and Councillor Megan would testify to this, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Advisory Committee, it's mentioned on page 39 of the report, the plan has been presented to the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander for their information and noting. That actually hadn't taken place because there wasn't a quorum for that meeting. Therefore, the 12-month review that's why it's important to do that, so that we can have some further input there. Keeping in mind, and Councillor Megan, you'll testify to this, often in those situations, the members of the advisory committee would remove themselves from that sort of a discussion, to be fair, because there would be significant conflicts of interest across those parties. So I'm not actually 100% sure of the value other than informing what that would give, to be fair, but just noting that is mentioned in the report and it actually didn't take place. So perhaps the second part of the motion might even include to allow the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Advisory Committee to provide input after that 12 months. That way it covers off on the reason why you have an advisory committee.
Okay.
If we can add that in there
we add that
somehow,
in?
I'm more than happy to move it.
Can we add that in to allow the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander committee to review that?
Really to provide input.
If you just go back up to here.
So question, Chair, through you, Councillor Jeff, would it be probably within that 12-month period they provide input rather than after? Yeah.
Talks about reviewed through the year, so that would be that.
And just put and following review by the Aboriginal before that, sorry. Review following by the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Advisory Committee. Take us to review at the end. So that'll read. And that just follows on the same sense for the dot point. Okay, if you just go back up so I can just start to read that amendment from the top. to see that. Okay, note the quote or tender consideration plan. Aboriginal Cultural Heritage Services will be internally reviewed and a further report provided for council consideration after the plan has been in place for 12 months and following review by the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander Advisory Committee. Is that?
Everyone happy with that? Councillor Nancy?
I've just got a question, if I could. I wonder about the role of an advisory committee in reviewing one of our policies that we have endorsed as councillors. I just wonder about the role of an advisory committee doing that. What's the terms of reference say, I wonder, about that sort of thing? I didn't think that that was their role, but I'm happy to be told otherwise if I'm not right.
Councillors, you might want to just change the word review to input, following input from the. Just change the word review to input.
Councillor Carroll?
Madam Chair, I do agree with Councillor Summerfield because we have many advisory committees and they advise. That's what they do. So, it isn't, I think they should all be the same. So I'm happy with the change. I'm not going to vote against this, but I would like detail put in the recommendation. I don't think people should need to go and search through a whole review to see what their money is being spent on. So, I just think I'm not going to die in a ditch over it, but don't know why we just wouldn't put it in there. Thank you.
Councillor?
Madam Chair, happy to move the recommendation.
Okay. Moved, the recommendation moved by Mayor McDonald, seconded by Bill, Councillor Bill. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Now we'll move to item number 4. It's recommended we close the meeting to the public to discuss confidential items and opening of the meeting to pass a resolution on these confidential items. One confidential report is being submitted for consideration by the Finance and Business Strategy Committee, which will necessitate the matter being considered in a closed meeting. Do we have a draft motion? Would someone like to, the motion that the meeting be closed to the public in accordance for section 254J3 of Local Government Regulation 2012 to consider the following item on the agenda, which is item number 6, confidential consideration of a request for a rate concession. And the reason for the closed meeting, the report details a rate concession request and therefore it is recommended that the meeting be closed to the public in accordance with section 254J3 D, rating concessions. E, legal advice obtained by the local government or legal proceedings involving the local government, including, for example, legal proceedings that may be taken by or against the local government. And F, matters that may directly affect the health and safety of an individual or a group of individuals of Local Government Regulation 2012. Does anyone move? Thank you, Councillor Kerry. Seconded. Councillor Carroll. We'll move the motion. All in favour? Thank you. Close. Unanimous.
live stream recommenced. It's back.
Okay, now we're officially open. Would like to move the motion that we approve the.
Madam Chair, I move the officer's recommendation. Thank you.
Would like to second that? Councillor Bill. All those in favour? 5. Sorry.
Yeah, but I'd just like the chair to call for those opposed.
Those opposed? And James? Yes. Sorry, I voted for. Councillor Beck, Councillor Nancy and Councillor James were against. All the others were for. Thank you. Now we move on to item number 6, which is the meeting concluding. Thank you.
Excuse me, Councillor Zena.
Yes.
Do you know who?
The last one for actually 2023. Welcome to all of those in the gallery, thank you for your attendance today, and those, of course, watching online, acknowledging Deputy Mayor Rebecca and all councillors, CEO Brian and all those others in the room, and thank you for your attendance today. Can I open the meeting by acknowledging the Aboriginal parties whose songlines traverse these lands we meet on today, the Western Waka Waka, the Guyabal and the Jarrawa peoples. Pay respects to their elders past, present and emerging, for they hold the knowledge, rich traditions and bold ambitions of Australia's First Peoples. Councillors, as you will know from the agenda, there's no items actually in the economic development for this month to report on. However, as many of you will have known, there is the Toowoomba Economic Health Check that's been put out by ID, Informed Decisions, from June 2023, which highlighted strengths across the regional economy and opportunities for continued growth. The Toowoomba region's broad economy has generated a record $11.62 billion in gross regional product in the 21-22 financial year. The regional economy grew by $1.1 billion between 2020 and 2022, following a slight COVID-19 influenced decline between 2018 and 2020. Over the last 5 years, the Toowoomba region's economy has shown consistent growth with an annual average gross regional product increase of 0.8% and a corresponding 2.3% rise per annum in local job opportunities. The most prominent industries in terms of employment and economic contribution in the region include healthcare and social assistance, education and training, retail trade, construction, manufacturing and agriculture, followed by forestry and fisheries. In another positive note, the number of new businesses entering the market in our region has also rebounded in 2021 and 22. The net new business increase was around 630 businesses per year, which was about 60% higher than pre-COVID growth in the Toowoomba region, which is around 390 per year from 2016 to 2019. The region recorded 16,849 local businesses in 2022, and the increase in new businesses in the Toowoomba since the outbreak of COVID-19 has been driven largely by healthcare and social assistance, construction, agriculture and other services, repair and maintenance, personal, private household services. The main industry drivers for the region's jobs growth include healthcare and social assistance such as NDIS, manufacturing and construction and local businesses serving population growth. Interestingly, in the report, it identified that around 9 in 10 of Toowoomba's residents live and work in the region. The report painted a bright future for our region, with industry specialisation and emerging industries offering strong jobs growth potential alongside the traditional pillars which I've mentioned earlier. I just thought I'd mention that in our economic development as we get close to the end of this year, that we should be filled with optimism for 2024, and certainly the jobs growth, but the numbers of businesses choosing to set up, or people choosing to set up business here is a great tribute. Just as a highlight, as far as numbers go, the healthcare and social assistance area has some 17,768 jobs. Education and training is second, 9,503, and then we have retail trade at 8,189, followed by construction at 7,581. So there's no doubt that the healthcare and social assistance area is our strongest as far as numbers of jobs in our region is concerned. So councillors, that really concludes the meeting. I just thought it was worth highlighting for us as we close out the year for 2023. So thank you for your attendance. Do appreciate it. Question, James? Apology for Councillor Tim. Thank you. We'll do that. Thank you, Councillor James. Moved by yourself. Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Rebecca. Those in favour? That's carried. And of course, we also record Councillor Melissa Taylor, who we've already recorded previously. That being the case, thank you for your attendance. Appreciate it. And that concludes the Economic Development meeting for 2023 December. Thank you.